Ticket number 17118. Add EU Setpoint column to cause and effects matrix. So if we come to instrumented systems, come to a C&E matrix, come to the setup template. If we edit and filter on EU, let's add the EU setpoint value and save that. We now come to the matrix and scroll down. We'll see we now have the EU setpoint value column, and for the input 33TT we have a value of 2%. So let's open this function, come to the performance template, scroll down to the trip requirements, and we'll see that for the input tag 33TT we have an EU setpoint value of 2%. If we come back to the C&E matrix, let's export. And if we look at our C&E matrix grid in Excel, we can see that the values are displaying in the report as well. EU setpoint value 2% for input 33TT. Ticket number 17115, auxiliary function property outputs. So essentially we're looking for all of the outputs underneath the auxiliary function. So if we come to the instrumented systems module, we use this SIF as an example. Under the auxiliary function outputs, we have one output here, 0001. If we look under the other outputs, underneath this voting group, we have three other outputs. So if we come to this SIF, and we look for the hash value of the SIF, and come across to Postman, that's the same hash value that we're using up here. And we're looking for the auxiliary function outputs. So let's run this. And if we do a search for the isAux, we should see we have 4 results here. So if we look at the first one, isAux function is 0. The next one is 0. The third one has got a 1 because we have got one auxiliary function output. And the last one should be 0 as well. So in our string query, if we include isAux function to 0, we should have 3 results. If we run that and click back down here, you can see we've got 3 results. And if we change this to a value of 1, we should return the 1 isAux function. And you can see here we've returned the 1 auxiliary function. Ticket number 17110. Barrier ID not editable within the Bowtie function. So let's come to the loader module and we'll come down to a Bowtie. If we scroll down to the additional Bowtie barriers, let's select a barrier. Click next. Select a barrier class. Click next. Select a related prevention and save. We now come down to the barrier we created and click on it. We can rename it to sprint test. Save the changes. And the barrier ID has now been updated. Ticket number 17109. Buttons missing for adding input voting groups. So in the SealCalc architecture template, during window resizing, the add and link buttons were no longer visible for tables such as the input and the output groups. So let's come to instrumented systems, select a SIF. We'll come to the SealCalc architecture template. Let's scroll down to the tables that had the issues. If we look at the inputs here, we have the input group, the input voting group, and the inputs themselves. So let's change the size of the window. We'll just expand the object tree. If we take a look at the tables now, they've been resized. For example, in this input voting group table, we can still add input voting groups and link input voting groups. Ticket number 17104. Not available options as found and as left. So we're adding another option of not available to the as found and as left drop-down options within workflows. So let's come to the Operate and Maintain module. Let's select a SIF. Come to Edit Tools and add a demand event. Let's add a demand date. And a demand result. Pass with failsafe failures. And the same for the related demand event result. And click Next. Let's select this top input device. And select it again to identify failures. And in step 4 in the workflow, we have two drop downs for as found and as left. You'll see that we now have not available as an option in the drop down. That can be selected and then proceed through the next steps in the workflow. Ticket number 17097. Request to change barrier matrix layout. So we want to change the barrier tooltip in the HAZOP module so that the tooltip also displays the descriptions. So if we come to the HAZOP module, we come to a HAZOP study. Let's go to the review template. We scroll to the right and hover over the barriers. We can now see we have the short description and the detailed description. If we come to the facilitation template, under the HAZOP deviations and scenarios, we hover over the barrier. We can see the short description and the detailed description. If we come to the enabling events list and expand this enabling events, scroll across to the barriers and hover, we can see the description, short description, detailed description. We have the same functionality inside the barrier list, the conditional modifier list, and the recommendations list. So let's just scroll across. And we can see in the tooltip here again, we've got the short description and the detailed description. Ticket number 17054. Save and cancel buttons must be hidden in test event workflow. So when adding a test event, various steps in the workflow are displaying the save and cancel buttons, which is not required when stepping through the workflow as the data is automatically saved or cancelled. In this screenshot, we can see the error. In step 5 in the workflow, we have the save and cancel buttons visible. So if we now come to the Operate and Maintain module, we come down to a test group and record a test event. If we set as found and as left and the test event date, select a SIF, select an input device, select our tested SIFs. If we now set the as found and as left in step 5, we can see that the save and cancel buttons are not displayed. We come to step 6. If we then select the tested input device and come to step 7, again we can set the as found and as left data. And once again, the save and cancel buttons are not present. Ticket number 16831. Feature request to filter on HAZOP scenario. So this is a request to add a filter to the table in the Link HAZOP with LOPA feature interface. So in order to make it easier to select HAZOP scenarios to link, we're adding a new filter called HAZOP node. The user needs to select one or more nodes, and the HAZOP scenarios column will then display only the scenarios associated with those nodes. This reduces the list and makes it easier to choose the correct scenarios. If we come to the LOPA module, come to the features and the link HAZOP with LOPA. Let's select our site, unit, and we'll go for LOPA study double eagle. If you look at the HAZOP node here, we have the following scenarios available. So let's add another HAZOP node. And we should see, if we click in here, the HAZOP scenarios have been updated with the additions added for that node. We can just simply select a few of these and click Save. Ticket number 16830. Allow users to select certain SIFs in the SLM SIF SRS Printout report. So if we come to the Instrumented Systems module, we come to the reports, we'll have a look at SLM SIF SRS Printout, and we can select by site, then by unit, and we can either select all of the SIFs or the ones we're particularly interested in, and click Generate. That will then create a background task, and you'll receive one email per selected SIF. Ticket number 16828. Suggestion to include HAZOP Report Printout option under Report tab. So this is a request for a new report where the users can select which HAZOP study they would like to export from a particular unit without needing to open each HAZOP separately to create a printout. So if we come to the HAZOP module and come to the reports and select the HAZOP review, select our site and our unit and the HAZOP studies we require, hit the Generate button. This will then create a background task, and once the background task is complete, you'll receive an email for each of the selected HAZOPs.